Welcome to the Business Building Blocks podcast, where we talk about the struggles and celebrations that leaders and entrepreneurs experience on their journey to success. I'm your host, Kristina, and I'm passionate about helping you achieve massive amounts of success at work and at home. We'll talk about all things people and organizational wellness, share relatable stories, and feature insightful guests because quality people and processes are at the heart of every success story. Ready to learn, grow, and have fun? Let's dive in. Hello, and welcome to the Business Building Blocks podcast. I'm your host, Kristina Schmitt. As you've probably known or noticed, I quite like the Working Genius. And I even have, if you're watching on the video, I've got even the widget letters up there and little Scrabble pieces. But I want to get into today the reason why I love it so much, but also the reason why you should never be afraid to take another personality test. Yes, I love this one, but I also appreciate MCode, StrengthsFinder, MBTI, so the Myers-Briggs, they all have value to them and they all have information for us. And that is the key, because I know I've probably said this. I know I say this in like every single Working Genius or every single training session that I do, but you could take every single personality assessment that there is known to man and then probably a couple more extra things like some evaluations. You could line them all up next to one another, and you still would not have a full, complete picture of yourself. And that's because there are things in our brains that we just can't get out. But the key is that the more we're aware of and the more we can name, the better we are. So it makes me think, as I was prepping for this, I started to think of back when I was a kid, Saturday morning cartoons. I'm sure some people, 80s children have watched those. There used to be this commercial that would come on and they would give you some kind of information about something or other. It'd be like, the more you know. And yes, you get singing today in the podcast, but it's not even the more you know, because ultimately you know these things. And this is feedback that I get a lot when people take the Working Genius and really when they've taken a lot of things. I know this, but it's really the more you can name. Because I'm going to use the little trade expression, but when we can name it, we can tame it. And like with anything, if we can name it, if we can identify it and say, this is the thing, now we can do something with it. And it might be we can improve it. It might be that we can temper it back. It might be that we can utilize it more, that we can engage it, that we can create a system around it. So it's not just about knowing yourself, because a lot of us know ourselves, but it's that ability to be able to name a thing and then apply something to it. And that's really the key behind these assessments. It's that giving us that ability to name something about ourselves, which then improves emotional intelligence and improves our ability to communicate that to others. But it also gives language for us to understand others. And that is huge, because we can know we've lived with ourselves our entire lives. There are things we learn about ourselves. But it's really hard, especially if you're seeing somebody, 8 hours a day and not even interacting with them all 8 hours. You maybe see them for, 5 minutes a day and an hour a week. It's hard to learn everything about them. And I'm going to say you're probably not going to. And that ability to be able to have a language for something that might be difficult can be huge. So today I want to keep it quick and short, and I want to get this very practical way that you can utilize these things more in your workplace, more in your home, and more for you to be able to just help yourself, your team, and your family, because how we get better. All right. So the whole idea again is that we can name something. And the reason we want to do that really comes back to emotional intelligence. So when we start looking at the stages of emotional intelligence, the very first one is understanding ourselves. And that's, again, so we understand how we're going to react to situations, how we're going to show up when things are happening. And again, the more we know or the more we can name, the more we can do with. And as we start to get to the further stages, so the second stage is not just understanding ourselves, but it's being able to use that for good. And then the third is using that to understand others and improve relationships and improve your team and everything else. And that's why we spend so much time understanding ourselves. If you listen to most of my podcast episodes, they are a lot about internal self. And that's because it's such a huge, important part of leading, of showing up well, of really doing anything really well. So how are we going to use this? How do these things help you? So I'm going to give you 3 very specific ways that having more assessments in your repertoire or having more assessment information can be utilized for you and for your team. So you can use this. I'll give you examples through this, how you can use this to help improve how you show up, how you respond to things, and how you can help coach your team members through the same situation, because this is why we do it for us first. I think I was told early in my careers, never do anything that you don't expect someone else to be able to do as well, or never expect somebody else to do something that you wouldn't do yourself. So if you're not going to coach yourself this way, then you can't coach them this way. And really better, the more you do it for yourself, the better and the easier it will be for you to help others as well. So the first very practical thing that you can do with all of these information pieces is, number 1, having calm in a chaos. So I love this, all the C's, right? But you can have calm in a crazy situation because you're more aware of how things will affect you. I talk about this a lot as well. So I repeat myself a lot, apparently. My kids like to tell me that too. But when I started doing leadership training, one exercise that we did was to write down things that stress us out. So write down our reactions, write down what happened. And so it's something I utilized in some of my sessions, where it's like, I want you to notice when you feel stressed. What triggered it? What did you do? And then what else happened? When you start to see that and you start to be aware of what you're doing and what kind of things stress you out, then you can start to notice it and it doesn't stress you out more. So one thing that I noticed through these observations is that I actually get very clumsy when I'm stressed. My theory behind it is because stress gets you in the fight or flight, right? All that adrenaline goes, and your gross motor is really strong, but your fine motor, I think, gets a little neglected. So I would be like dropsy. I would run into things. And so I've broken several phone screens during stressed moments. And I wear a lot of sweaters because it's always chilly. You catch your sweater on the door and woo, few expletives like to roll out when I'm in the thick of it. What really, the benefit that I had from noticing this is that before, it would send me through the roof. I would get caught on a door handle or something would get caught on something, and I would go, "Wah!" And I would explode because I was like, I'm already late and this 1 second delay is making me later. And it would escalate to a completely ridiculous level because of something small. You know, it's like the person that if you're tailgating somebody because, you know, you're late and you're tailgating them and you expect that that's going to make them go faster, or that you're actually going to get there any earlier and you're probably going to save 30 seconds, right? But it's like you feel like that person made you late. It's like, no, all the choices you made leading up to that made you late. So when you can take a step back and realize, these things happen when I'm stressed, then you can say, what am I stressed about? Because sometimes you don't even know. Like a lot of times I will have this, and I see this in others, that there's something looming. There's something stressing you out kind of over top, and maybe it's always there, or maybe it's a regular occurrence, but like every morning when you know it's garbage day, you get extra stressed because you don't actually want to get up any earlier. And in fact, it's on a Wednesday when you are extra tired anyway. And, you know, you tend to sleep in and oversleep. And then you remember, oh no, it's garbage day. And now I got to get the kids up and they're going to make me later. And so you're already pre-stressed and you don't even know it. So a lot of times that will happen. And a lot of times that will happen to you as a leader as well. So being aware of that is always really good. But you can start to take a step back and realize, what am I stressed about? And if you remember on Tuesday night that garbage day is in the morning, that you can't snooze your alarm, then you'll save yourself some stress so you can put actions in place. I like to tell the story of, I think I had a program starting one day and I had a networking breakfast and was running a little behind, as is the case sometimes. And I was like, trying to get there. And I did all the things. I dropped something. I broke something. I got caught on the door. And I said, what is happening? Why am I doing this? And instead of letting it get me into crazy town mode, like even worse, I said, what am I stressed about? And I said, you know what? I have the program starting today, which always gives me a little bit of stress. In fact, I would get a little bit stressed before every single session. And it's because I care. And it's because you do when you're standing in front of people and you're trying to make sure they're developing and learning and you're keeping them engaged and everybody's having a good time and improving. So you get a little stressed. It's like, I'm just worried about that. I got that. That's fine. I've done this hundreds of times before. I can do it today. Do the breakfast, leave when you're supposed to leave, and then go do your thing. So I was able to just take it down about 3 notches because I knew it. So again, understanding yourself more, so understanding what stresses you out can help you calm chaos. When I'm looking at working genius type things, I have very low tenacity, which means I don't like finishing things. So as things start approaching that finishingness, I get stressed because I'm worried I won't finish it. What if I don't finish it? What if I don't finish it on time? What if I just avoid it? And so I start to notice me avoiding things. And then I have to go, what's my system? How do I do this? How does this work? How can I keep the calm levels calm? So you can do the same thing with your team, because as you start to notice things about you, you will start to notice things about your team as well. And you can help them realize it. You can say, you seem stressed today. Are you okay? Is there something going on? How's that project going that you're working on? Sometimes it's those outside of work things, anything going on that maybe you want to just get off your chest, anything happening, and then you might say, you know what? We've got this big party for my mom coming up and we're planning everything and everybody's fighting about it. And I'm at my wit's end. Be the sounding board. You're not going to help them plan their party, right? So please don't do that. If you're an E, you might want to. Don't do that. But you can let them vent. You can say, you know what? Dive into work today because let's leave that there because things are happening, whether you worry about them or not, things are happening. So you can help them talk them down a little bit. So you can keep that calm in the chaos. The more you can name, the more you can know about yourself and the more you understand yourself and your team. Second thing, it can help you develop strategies and systems. This is huge because the more we understand how we function and the more we understand where we struggle and where we thrive, we can set up strategies and systems that will help us. So a lot of us know that I have just moved into a new home and we've been getting everything set up. I love to take my 5S principles and put them into my kitchen. And I've done that for years. So, making sure everything is at point of use. I can see it. Maybe it's got slots so that it's better organized. So it's not just a big hodgepodge thrown into a drawer of utensils, because when you're cooking and you need that other utensil, you want to just open the drawer and grab it, not dig. So that's been always very important to me. And I do it all the time for years. But something I did differently in this home was understanding how I behave. So I know I like to use a lot of rags, right? So I have this thing with paper towel, right? I call it green, but it's really maybe cheap. I'm not sure which, but I don't like to use paper towels for like every little spill because it's like, it feels like such a colossal waste. I have a little dot of a spill and I'm wasting this whole paper towel because I don't want paper towels sitting around. So you end up throwing it away. Anyway, big thing. So I have a lot of rags and it's fine because I do laundry all the time. But what used to happen is either I didn't want to throw the rag on the stairs because it's wet and gross. So I would leave it in the sink or leave it on the counter. I'd leave it somewhere gross and smelly, or then I wouldn't want to use it. And then I would grab another one and it would just cause chaos. Or I would throw them on the stairs and then I'd have a big pile on the stairs that I didn't want to touch because it was gross and whatever else. I know, knowing this about myself, that I have a lot of rags that like need to go up and down the stairs to the laundry. I just set up a little basket right at the top of the stairs and I can put my laundry in it. I can put my rags in it. It's primarily rags and towels and all of that, but it keeps it neater. Doesn't look gross. It's a nice basket I can just take downstairs. It looks okay in its spot. Maybe it's not the most decorative thing in the world, but it's a pretty basket. So it works for what it is. But I set that system up because I know myself. I know that I will just leave it everywhere and it'll annoy me. And so I put that in place. And so understanding this about me, I can set a system up around it that works for me. So you're probably going to have people that have different strengths and different weaknesses than you do. And it might be genius related. It might just be skill set related. It might be behavior related, wound related, neurodivergent related, any of that related. When we can understand and name things about these sorts of things, we can then say, we know we struggle here. So what can we do to make it easier? What can we do to make it followed appropriately? And that's really the whole principle behind 5S anyway. So if you're learning 5S or you've done it in the past and you say it doesn't work, it's probably because you've tried to blanket it into something that it isn't, or you've tried to just put it in because you're supposed to. I'm supposed to have a shadow board here, so I'm going to do it. But the reality is it should be a system that solves a problem. And that's what this is. The more we understand about really our behaviors as a team on the shop floor, or our behaviors as an office place, like go to your copy machine area. Like, what's that look like? Right? So what does it look like when there's stuff everywhere or there's multiple people using something? You have to have systems in place. Actually, the kitchens are what get me. That is the most, like, everybody has to use it. And, you see the little signs, clean up after yourself. And it's like, well, what we've done is we've made it everybody's job. And when we've done that, it's nobody's job. So understanding that people will be people, we have to put a system in place. And if you know the personalities or the cleanliness habits of your people in your office, your team, your shop floor, you can put strategies in around that. Like, here is the list, or assign somebody to do something, or here's the label of the things that go in this drawer, refill it. But just little systems in place that will help button things up. And the third one, you can use these things for development. All right. So when we understand where people thrive, that is where we want to spend the time developing them. So if you have somebody who has invention as a genius, what can you do to help them develop that better? Is getting them like CAD training, is that going to be helpful? Or is giving them some kind of computer language training or further development or problem solving training, like giving them some kind of toolbox to utilize better in their creation, that is benefit to them. And in the opposite realm, if let's say wonder is their frustration, but you need them to think about things like, okay, put yourself in a leader's place. I know a lot of leaders, myself included, but a lot of other ones who struggle with the genius, or who struggle with wonder, who struggle with sitting and doing nothing, particularly in the manufacturing sector where it's like, you feel like you need to be moving all the time to be productive. If you struggle to sit and to contemplate and to think, it's worthwhile to understand what that looks like, to understand you might struggle with it, and to create, this is back to number 2, but a system around it that might look like having somebody else come in and ask you questions, having some guided questions to ask, going for a walk with something to record and think through, because sometimes that movement will get things going. So understanding that, I as a leader need to work on this, being able to sit and contemplate things. How can I work on it more? Sometimes it is practicing, putting a practice or a habit in place that you're going to do that. So these are all developmental activities, because as you're trying to improve something, it's developmental. Now, we do want to also, on the other side of that, we don't want to spend oodles of time developing things where we don't thrive. A lot of times we used to do a parable in a sales training class, and I love it. I think I've told it on the podcast somewhere before, but basically a whole bunch of forest animals, they started a school, and, everybody was going to learn like flying, stopping, foraging, and swimming. Didn't do any of the things they were good at anymore, and they just did the things they were bad at. And eventually they just, they quit school because they hated it and they were frustrated. But this is what we do in the workplace all the time. We will spend all this time trying to develop our weaknesses. Truth be told, I spent a ton of time trying to do that. I would be like, what's wrong with me? Why can't I do this? Rather than engaging the strengths, maybe in a slightly different way, so that we will then do better and maybe cover up the weaknesses. So yes, you need to work on improving weaknesses to a point, but only to a level where they don't hurt you anymore. And sometimes it's to a level where they don't hurt you, but it's also creating systems and other things around you to make it work better. So when we're looking at how people should develop, and again, developing doesn't just mean making a leader, it means improving any sort of skills, improving question asking, improving listening, improving feedback, improving wondering, and thinking, and improving problem solving. Like, all of these things are development, and they don't always have to be geared towards a job. but they can be geared towards just improving somebody's ability to do their job well, improving their well-being, improving all sorts of things. So when we focus our development on enhancing the strengths, making the strengths even stronger, and getting the improvements to a point that they're not hurting, and maybe creating systems around them, which is again development, then now we are using development well. So that is where these assessments can help us identify these things, can help us name them, so we can say finishing is tough. Like in the past, before Working Genius came around, people just thought people that didn't finish were lazy and didn't care. Right? So now we know it's not an excuse to not finish, but it is information to utilize to create systems and to develop those people. So if you enjoyed today's episode, please like it, share it with a friend, leave a comment on the YouTube and leave a review, and subscribe. I never remember to tell you to subscribe, so subscribe. And if you know somebody who would find this beneficial, please share it with them. And if you would like more information or some help, maybe clarifying where you should improve, I have free calls that you can jump on with me that will just set you straight. We'll get you some information that, about what's going on and some first, second, and probably third steps. All right. So I will see you on the next episode of the Business Building Blocks podcast.
Thanks for tuning in to the Business Building Blocks podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss what's next. If you found value in our conversation, please leave a quick review, like, or share. It helps us reach more amazing listeners like you. For more resources and insights, visit KristinaSchmitt.ca, where you can find tools and support to empower your leadership journey. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.